Alex McCarthy back with Wrestling Daily once again. Here we are for a Wednesday night special, and my man SP3 is by my side. Sir, how are you doing?
It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. SP3 on Wrestling Daily, and for the first time in 2021, I am back with my brother from an Irish mother, the one, the only, Alex McCarthy.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Where is it? I can't even. I can get it on screen. I can't even twist my arm the right way. There it is. The Irish heritage in full flow. Great to see you again, my man. Work and circumstances have conspired to work against us. You've been spending time with Louis Dangoor, much to my jealous heart's contempt. But we're back, and I'm sure you're going to wipe the floor with me again in some kind of debate later on. We must say, before we get going here, thank you so much, guys, for the ones that made the trip over to the other stream. That's on Wrestling Daily, our new channel, our new home. You can still catch us here on Wrestle2 for the rest of this week. But as you will have seen yesterday, if you were on the stream, we are making the move. So please hop on over. And by the end of the show today, we will do a nice little 10-minute Q&A to myself, SP3. Ask us anything you like. No money, no gigs. Just ask us the real stuff. Until then, though, if you want something guaranteed to be read out on the show, you know what to do. Send in your messages and questions at WrestleTalk.com/Wrestle2. Once you do that, our lovely mods will get over the goods to us, and we will read it out, debate it, talk about it, whatever you want. It's your money. Whatever you want, we'll do it on the show. No problem about that at all. So, man, SP3, talk to me. How has your January been in New York? I mean, we're locked down over here. What's stuff like your end?
It is cold out here in New York. The numbers are still pretty high here, so I try to make my trips outside less frequent. I did a whole trip today. I didn't take any buses, trains, walked about 20 minutes to the post office, 20 minutes back, and I realized I am out of a lot of exercise, and I need to do that more often. So my January has been kind of the same for 2020, but we've had plenty of great wrestling to enjoy. I in the words of you, great philosopher, I waxed lyrically about Wrestle Kingdom 2-night event the first week of January. Of course, there was also New Year's Smash from AEW. WWE has some good stuff as well. NXT, SmackDown. Don't get me started on Raw in 2021. You guys did enough of that yesterday. But yeah, I'm happy to be back here with you to talk about wrestling in the new year, sir.
I mean, so what you're trying to tell me is one trip to the post office and you're blown up like Big Show in 2000.
Pretty much, yeah, like Yokozuna in 1996. It's pretty bad. I needed walking to the post office. I had to take like a break on the bench and make it seem like I'm just looking at text messages. No, I'm like my back is out. I'm winded. Like
you're like, no, tag me out. Yeah, man. Listen, I did in Abu Dhabi where I was for work. So they had a gym at the bottom of the hotel that we could all use. You had to like book a slot and all that good stuff. I went every day but 2, and I was out there for 16 days, I think. I ran 5K every time I went. So I'm not even going to do the maths right now, but it was a lot, right? And I literally, the first one I did was like over 25 minutes. And then the more I did them, you know, the sharper you feel. And also, I couldn't eat chocolate out there. They didn't have a shop for chocolate. So, like, I was on, like, an unintentional detox. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, oh, well, I guess I'm cleaning up. And then by the end, so I broke 22 minutes. That was, like, my first goal because I kept kind of missing it. I broke 22 minutes at the end of the first week. And then I was like, right, I want 20 minutes because that's hard stuff, a sub 25K. And I didn't do it. I got to... I think I did 20 minutes and like 15 or 12 seconds, something like that. Like it was heartbreaking. It was that close. Like, because it just, man, it was like 12, 15 seconds in it. I was gutted. But now I've come back and it's locked down here with the snow is just cleared away. And I'm like, well, I better get on the roads and run then. And I hate that. so much. I hate road running. My ankles hate it. So I'm thinking that my good work might be going to waste. And my missus was like, you know what we should eat tonight?
Your missus is plotting against you.
I'm looking at her. She's like, you know, I was going to swear again. I always get in trouble when I do. She's like, F your 5Ks. So, yeah, that's where we're at. Anyway, I suppose people want to tune in to hear us talk about wrestling. So let's do that. Let's start with, I like doing this now, the titular news. Of course, we're talking about Trey Miguel. Now, this is a guy that we've seen the Rascals debut. Now they're not called the Rascals, of course, MSK. And they've got new names themselves as well. A lot of people were like, where's Trey Miguel? Well, apparently it wasn't through a lack of trying, SP3.
Yes, apparently WWE and AEW both were going after Mr. Miguel, but last night on Impact Wrestling, he was revealed as the mystery partner for Impact World Champion Rich Swann, as well as Tommy Dreamer and Willie Mack against Chris Bay, Moose, Ken Shamrock, and Sami Callihan. He got a big victory, getting a pinfall victory in the main event over Sami Callihan. So I think that this may be a renewed push for him, especially if he's re-signed with Impact Wrestling, because I think a lot of the talk from around when the contract negotiations was going on between the Rascals and Impact Wrestling, it was saying that they didn't want to meet the price point of all three guys in Impact. So maybe just one of the guys, they were able to hit that price point and say, you know, we value you a little bit more than Wes and Dez. So I mean, that makes sense because he was the guy that was getting pushed the most out of the group. He got opportunities at the X Division Championship last year at Hard to Kill against Ace Austin. He was in the world title matchup at Slammiversary, the big one with Eric Young and Rich Swann, where Eddie Edwards won. So he is the one that has seen the most focus from Impact Wrestling. So it makes sense that if he is re-signed with Impact, they gave him the number that they weren't willing to give to Desmond Xavier and Zachary Wentz. So I think that it's a big coup for Impact Wrestling, signing a guy who is young. He's in his 20s, 24, 25 years old, and they can build him as the future of Impact Wrestling. And, you know, AEW has guys like MJF, Jungle Boy, but Impact Wrestling doesn't really have those young stars where you can pinpoint and be like, those are the future. You have your Chris Bay, you have your Ace Austin, but you don't really have that baby face where you could be like, this guy is the future, like they have with Jungle Boy or Darby Allin in AEW. With Trey Miguel, that is that guy. And I do want to say that me and Louis were debating this. We had the chat debating this as well. When MSK debuted, before they debuted, we were trying to figure out what MSK stood for. And I believe it was one of these meme pages, maybe WWE memes or somebody like that. Marijuana smoking kids. It's like, how did we not think of that? That's the perfect acronym for Dez and Weds, or Wesley and Nash Carter.
Yeah, I was about to say Wesley and Nash Carter. Mate, wait till Vince calls him up and he's like, MSK, huh? It was like, what's the story? It's Rob Van Dam. He had a tag team with, I want to say, Rey Mysterio. Have you heard this story before? And I think they called themselves like 420 or whatever. And Vince was like, well, what's that? And I think Rob Van Dam said, it's our shoe sizes combined. And Vince was like, all right. Vince is like, okay. Like, that's all it took to get it past him. Okay. So, yeah, awesome. What was I going to say? Yeah, Trey Miguel, right? Like you said, apparently, which we should touch on, AEW made a play as well. So that's quite the coup that Impact were able to make an attractive enough offer to keep him there.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I said. Like, you can kind of see that they value him. That if they were able to give him a price that kind of was comparable to both WWE and AEW, doubt that it was comparable to WWE, but if it was comparable to AEW, then you got to give it to Impact Wrestling, and it shows that they have an investment in the future of that company.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. Like, I've said this for a while. I think Chris Bay is the guy. Like, he is someone that he should be a cornerstone of Impact for years to come. And, you know, you partner that up with Trey Miguel, Ace Austin, and the other people that they've got there. They do have the foundations to do something really good. And this is an important part of that. You have to fight off those overtures that they're likely to get from the bigger companies, which is something that is inherently hard to do, because at the end of the day, we've just seen WWE land another, yes, not the first, another $1 billion deal. It's not easy to contend with that. And, you know, okay, you know, I remember at one point people were like, you know, AJ Styles is like Mr. I want to call him Impact. They weren't that.
TNA.
Yeah, exactly. He was Mr. TNA, right? They were like, yeah, you know, he's loyal, whatever. But there does get a point in everyone's career where money does matter. And unfortunately, that is the stranglehold that WWE and AEW, to a degree, will have on their rivals. So I am actually pleased to see that he's betting himself, right? Let's see if, you know, maybe his value will go even higher by the time his contract's next up. I don't know. Impact might be in a different place. Let's see how it works out for him, man. I'm pleased for the guy.
And he's in a different position from Dez and Wes, or I'll just start calling him Wesley and Nash Carter. Yeah. I like the Nash Carter, but the fact that Wesley, this was my stepdad's actual name, Wesley, not
for real,
not Wesley, but Wesley. The actual. Okay. He's because Wes is a shorter version of Wesley, so you're telling me his name is Wesley
Lee. Yep, sure.
So I'm never going to get over that, but I just think that it's great for Impact Wrestling. It really shows that they're building to the future. But I just think that for him, he's in a different situation from Wes and Dez, because he's a trainer at a school. At a wrestling school in his local area in the Midwest, and he's doing music on the side. He has a song about to come out with Rocky Romero, so he has outside ventures that wouldn't work well with the WWE contract right now. So I kind of knew when this whole situation was going down that him going to WWE was going to be the hardest stone for them to turn when it comes to the Rascals.
I'm speaking to Rocky Romero. I want to say tomorrow. Might be. Anyway, there's a load of stuff coming up in my mind, and I'm thinking, hang on a minute. Yeah, I won't give too much away on why or what's happening there, but I will keep you all posted. Before we move forward, Carol One said, I had a rough morning, but it's getting better. News on my Twitter for those that follow me. I haven't seen it, Carol, but allow me to offer you this virtual hug. Bring it in right here. I hope you feel better, Carol, and I hope you get time to enjoy the show. T. Wayne says, other than SP3, who is someone else that hasn't competed on Quizlemania that you'd like to see? Stop it. The first part of your question was all you needed. SP3, the fact that us SP3 hasn't been on yet is ludicrous. I need that man on there as a Wrestling Daily representative. I feel it's long overdue. I am going to be making a public and private plea to Adam Blompier to have my Wrestling Daily cohort be a part of the show. So keep posted on that one, because Wrestling Daily does need to make amends. Louis has left us high, and he has dragged our name through the mud, is what that kid has done with his terrible Scott Steiner guesses and other things.
Yeah. Steiner math. He's doing Steiner math with his guesses for Quizlemania. I think all of you guys, especially you, Alex, I'm making my way there. Like the second to last Quizlemania, I was mentioned on there thanks to CM Chris with his SP3 for Quizlemania. And then this past week, Adam Blompier followed me on Twitter. So
did he?
So we're getting there. We're working our way up the ladder. He knows of SP3 and True Hill Heat. So we're working our way up there.
I did not know that. Yeah. That sounds like a lot of progress to me. young Adam, the sly fox that he is. All right. Okay, I'm down with that. Let's do you know what? I have a good debate, I think. And by good debate, I always mean I always seem to take the terrible end of the stick, and I'm probably going to do the same. I spoke to Charlotte Flair today. There's a divisive name amongst many people. And we were talking about creative. And by the way, I heard she doesn't like the Ric Flair Lacey angle. And who would have thunk it? Apparently that's a Bruce Prichard special. Again, who would have thunk it? Anyway, one thing that she said in the call, because there was lots of other journalists, it was like a conference thing, and somebody asked her about Ronda Rousey. Now, I posted this comment on Twitter, and predictably, the flames have been burning. And Charlotte said, well, it's very... Let me quantify what she said, because at the end of the day, she was asked a question. Let's not forget that. She didn't just randomly go, screw Ronda Rousey. And they basically said, like, did the division need Ronda Rousey? Now, that's a very specific question. Let's remember that when Charlotte's being asked it. And Charlotte did, to her credit, kind of go around the houses and do like, Ronda Rousey's great. Like, she can bring a lot to the table. Would she be great for the division? Absolutely. Do we need her? No. That was the quote. Okay. Now, again, you could make the argument no one is bigger than any division. You could make that argument if you really wanted to. I do think that there are cornerstone players. I saw a lot of comments that were like, Ronda Rousey over Charlotte, and I'm like, okay, I mean, that's a take. For the record, I liked Ronda Rousey, but I don't. You see people go, we wouldn't have got the main event at WrestleMania without Ronda Rousey. We wouldn't have got Evolution without Ronda Rousey. I don't think that's necessarily true. Like, I think she helped, and I'm not denying her star power or anything. But really, would we have not got there were it not for Ronda Rousey? Do you see how it's different the way you word it?
Mm-hmm. So, I think I've only teased this to you before, Alex, and teased this to the people watching. But
right.
I am the president of the Ronda Rousey fan club.
No, I have seen this.
I have called her the Lord and Savior of not only professional wrestling, but she's like one of the greatest human beings in American history. I'm the American representative for Wrestling Daily. So I'm the expert on this. So I've said this ranking of the greatest women in American history. There's Mother Teresa, Maya Angelou, and our Lord and Savior, Ronda Rousey. The love of my life, my girlfriend. She despises Ronda Rousey because of my love for Ronda Rousey. I
can't believe you didn't have Whitney Houston pre-Bobby Brown in that list. She was an angel, SP3.
Mother Teresa is not even American. That's the best.
I didn't even think of that. I was like, probably.
Yes, Ronda Rousey is our Lord and Savior. Not only would we I'm going to make the correct wording here. Mm-hmm. Not only would we have not had the WrestleMania main event when we got it without Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
Not only would we have not gotten the first ever all women's pay-per-view without Ronda Rousey at the time that we got it.
Yeah, right.
But 5 years ago, when WWE decided, you know what? Women make good athletes. You know who was the reason that they said that? And I have Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, all on record saying this. Without Ronda Rousey and her impact on the MMA profession, the business, the industry, the sport, we would have not started the women's revolution, the women's evolution.
I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying here, but doesn't that sound mental to say out loud? Like that you couldn't actually see how talented all these women were. You know what I mean? And they were just like, oh, what women are good? Like, do you know what I mean? That sounds like, oh, look at Ronda Rousey kicking ass in UFC. Damn, I mean, maybe these women can wrestle. Like this is so mad to think about.
Maybe we don't call them divas. We call them superstars.
You know what? Take the bikinis off. Let these women wrestle. God damn it! Look at what Ronda Rousey's doing. Like, do you know what's mad as well? And honestly, I don't really disagree with anything that you said. I just feel like there's additional components, right? So I don't just feel like it's Ronda and Ronda. Like people, like to me, the main event of WrestleMania, I don't think you put Ronda Rousey in it just because it's Ronda Rousey. You have to remember Becky Lynch was red hot. Red hot. I mean, like the hottest that anyone's been in maybe the last decade, you could say, right?
I agree.
And so what I'm trying to say is, let's say Becky wasn't red hot. You don't just go Ronda and Charlotte's the main event. I don't think that would have happened.
But that's what they were gonna do. They were gonna do.
Were they? Were they though?
I believe from the I was there live in Philadelphia when she debuted at the Royal Rumble, and I still have friends and people that were in that building that I said we just saw a future WrestleMania made them better. I literally made my friend, he was a great artist, make a picture. Maybe I'll have the picture next time we're on the show together, of a sign that we made, and we did it for the Raw after WrestleMania 34, that we were 364 days from Ronda Mania 1, that she was going to main event WrestleMania 35. I called that the day of WrestleMania that she was going to do it. And that was the plan the whole time. Becky Lynch catching fire was kind of an accidental thing for WWE. It was something that they never intended on. They wanted to turn Becky heel, and she just caught fire as a babyface. And it caught fire at the same time that, you know, Ronda was building up momentum, and it made Ronda into the heel, but it worked better for everybody in the long run because it gave Becky Lynch a platform to become the top star in I think without Charlotte and Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch is not considered the top star in WWE in 2019. That's just
I don't know. I think Becky was getting hot without Ronda. Like she was hot without Ronda. The first time they really had that interaction was when she got injured, right? Like Becky, they were going to meet at Survivor Series.
Yeah.
And Becky puts it, this is hella cool, by the way, as I'm like, this episode of Raw was, the end of it was lit as anything. Like Becky's got her in the disarmer backstage. Ronda's tapping like a mad. Like it was awesome. That was the first like thing that they had. But then obviously what everyone remembers is Becky in the bloody face after Nia Jax in the ring. And then obviously we didn't get any more Rousey, Lynch. The match gets delayed. But remember, like what I'm saying is Becky was hot before that interaction with Ronda.
I just think that it went to another level because Becky in the Charlotte feud, she was hot on a wrestling level. But remember, people just want to remember the go home show to Survivor Series weeks before, when after Evolution, that it seemed that we were getting Ronda versus Becky at Survivor Series. Remember TMZ, ESPN, what were they all covering? A Twitter war between Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey, when Becky Lynch was the first WWE superstar to mention that Ronda was at home for over a year crying after she lost inside the octagon. That created a whole different buzz. That changed how the fans looked at Ronda Rousey. That really started the uproar of Ronda being the top heel in the industry, which I feel like we were robbed of a longer run, that they should have just pulled the trigger as soon as the fans turned on her. But that's when Becky Lynch's name started getting mentioned in the mainstream with places like we said, like those outlets, TMZ, ESPN. I feel like that took Becky to another level. I think the Charlotte feud made her hot on the wrestling level with the hardcore fans wanting her to win. But I think that the Ronda, the Twitter war, then their feud up until Survivor Series, that took her to a level where she was undeniable, and that they were like, yeah, she can main event WrestleMania.
I stand by the point. Becky was hot, right? Again, so I'm agreeing with what you're saying. She was hot anyway, and then you add that to, and what I'm saying is, when we got, it was almost the best thing that could have happened when you didn't get the Survivor Series match between Becky and Ronda, because from there it was like everyone was like, this could literally, not just be at WrestleMania. This is the first time people like this could main event WrestleMania.
Yeah,
and then Charlotte's kind of crowbarred in there. All right, she might have already been in there anyway in the eyes of those beforehand, but storyline wise, for sure, she's crowbarred in there. Vince just walks out and goes, "Oh yeah," and Charlotte's in. That is literally what happened. He went, "Yeah." Anyway, Charlotte is in this match, and
I've never laughed that much at Vince McMahon, but that was like, I'm sorry, I saw it coming a mile away. As soon as he said Charlotte Flair, I literally could not stop laughing. Like I was just like, "This is hilarious."
Yeah, man. I just think it was a great cocktail. But my argument to all of that is that I don't think, well, I guess it's not my argument. It's just my viewpoint. I don't think like Ronda Rousey like single-handedly did anything. I just feel like she lifted up everyone around her. Does that make sense? Like her star power. But I think equally you could make the argument that during her title runs for sure. And this is fair because to say like Ronda Rousey was a polished worker, like it's almost impossible. It was her first year in the business, right? But as everyone has said, man, she caught on quicker than almost anyone. Kurt Angle himself, I think, has said this. And she did do great stuff, but I do think there's a lot of women to thank along that trail that helped her and made her in that thing. And I think that's the two, when you get people on Twitter that are like pro or anti Rousey, I think they kind of can't see the two sides and how they actually met to create something magical. Do you know what I'm trying to say here? Like I feel like it took both sides to make something that ended up being a historic year for women's wrestling. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you don't throw Rousey in that mix, the point you made is the right point. At that time, we don't get what we got. Fair?
Yeah. I think that's the best way to kind of say it with just the facts without the emotions going into play. Yes, I am one of those people that feels like Ronda Rousey was like Michael Jordan with the Chicago Bulls dynasty in 2018 through 19. She may have not been the sole reason for us getting to where we got to, but she was the number one reason. She was the MVP in my opinion. But Becky Lynch is a great Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen, one of the top 50 greatest players of all time. So it's all a whole team that kind of got us to where we needed to get to.
Yeah, I feel I would like to see Ronda. I mean, she will come back, obviously. The contract's still there, still live. It's a matter of time. We've seen her training. I'd like to see it at the Rumble and then get us into Mania. I'd like to see it. Really, for me, though, all there is well, not all there is. There's a lot you can do. But I mean, the one thing I think of when I think of Ronda Rousey is Becky Lynch. I want that one-on-one that we never really got. And I feel like that is the biggest money match in professional wrestling for women. There is no bigger match at all. The same way you can make the argument for maybe Reigns and Rock. There isn't a bigger match. And for me, for Rousey to come back, I don't really want to see her come back, and I wouldn't be against it. But I want her to come back and that's the match straight away. Make it. I don't want to kind of have them both doing anything. I want the luster to be there, the shine. Give me Rousey and Lynch. And I don't know how long Rousey wants to hang around in the wrestling business. Not that long, I would imagine. But I've got 2 points to make here. But on this point, I think it would be great for Lynch to tap out Rousey whenever it's Rousey's last match. That's my thing. On the way out for Rousey, it would be great for Lynch to finally get that. I actually wouldn't mind Rousey winning when Lynch and her meet next. And then you've kind of got it's 1-1. And then let it play out. Second point, people, and this bugs me with Twitter. People are like, Conor McGregor is washed because he got beaten by Dustin Poirier, who, by the way, is one of the absolute best fighters in the world at his weight, has been for a long time. Anybody can get sparked in UFC, and people are like, Conor McGregor is washed. Okay, what? And then I saw people were asking me, right? Do you think he'll go to WWE now? As if that's what you do when you get washed in UFC. And I was like, well, no, probably one day, because he's a big star, WWE, money. That's the cocktail. That's how it generally works.
Yeah.
I was like, probably not now. He's not just going to lose and go now. But the point I'm making here is McGregor and his luster, people kind of worry about that. But the way Rousey finished her UFC career was about as humbling from the height that she was at. And for anyone who doesn't follow UFC, it's very hard for me to articulate exactly how high she was at her peak. I'm talking the biggest draws in UFC history is McGregor, and Rousey is in that discussion in the bracket below. She changed the game completely. But those last two losses were humbling, properly humbling. And yet, By the time she made it over to WWE, you didn't feel that, right? She felt huge, and I love that she still has that draw and that appeal, man. So what I'm saying is, and what I'm asking to you is, McGregor's a much smaller man than your typical WWE superstar, which makes it a different kind of ball game. But I don't think him losing is a problem. It certainly wasn't for Ronda Rousey, was it?
No, I think that if you leave enough time before you come into WWE, like no matter how much we say we want Vince to respect our intelligence as a viewer, WWE viewers overall have a low attention span, and they forget things like that. A person that you didn't care about gets injured, he comes back at the Royal Rumble, you're popping like he's Stone Cold Steve Austin. It happens every year, and I just think that Conor McGregor taking 6 months to a year off and coming into WWE, he would feel as big as Ronda Rousey felt. But I know Conor McGregor, the person, and it seems that, you know, his number one thing is making money. So why, if the highest paid guy in WWE right now is getting $5 million for a year, let's say, or probably Brock is getting more than that. He's getting paid like $10 million for like 3-4 dates out of the year.
I think Brock took home 12 last year or the year before, but that's like documented. Who knows what it really was?
Exactly. That's not including everything, but that's for 3-4 dates. He can make 10 times that much with one boxing fight.
Yeah.
I would not get that decision by Conor McGregor, because he proved it in the middle of his prime as an MMA fighter. He proved that he is that much of a draw, that he can go into a sport that he never competitively been in and put up one of the biggest box office draws in history. So why is he coming to WWE at a time that, yes, they just made $1 billion from Peacock, but to the overall like mainstream, as far as like ratings, as far as buy rates, maybe the subscriptions is a difference. You're getting a lot more subscribers from the Peacock end on the WWE Network end, but there's no fans in the building. So I don't understand the return for Conor McGregor. He's a WWE fan. He wants to make us happy. But no, I don't see it. I see him going for the bigger payday, and the bigger payday, if he's out of MMA, is having 1 or 2 more boxing fights, in my opinion.
Yeah. My thing was maybe when he's like out of his prime and it's easy and like, you know, he doesn't want to fight anymore. Like maybe, you know, Ronda Rousey was like a rare thing because she could have fought. She might have even fought her way back to where she was. I mean, Amanda Nunes is a tall prospect, but she might have, is the point. She could have. Because she left the game at what, like 30? And you have to think, you know, that is pretty much banging your physical prime, but also she had a lifelong obsession with wrestling. So it's very different. She wanted to give it a try and all the stars aligned. McGregor as well, like it would be the Mayweather Big Show thing kind of worked with a David versus Goliath, and then they set the angle on fire with the very real broken nose. Very hard to kind of duplicate that because McGregor is 5'9" for real. Like he's not a big guy. He just fought 155 pounds, which is allegedly, I know not all the 205 live are, you know, some of them are much higher and some of them much lower. He would basically be a small 205 live guy. So these are things you actually have to think about, like how you would parlay all of that and what the money would actually get you. But as you just said, McGregor, man, I believe Poirier 2, this is what Dana said at the press conference, is the 3rd highest grossing pay-per-view UFC have ever had, which for a fight that really had no steam in it, other than the fact that McGregor was in it, is mental, right? I think 8 of the top 11 bought UFC pay-per-views of all time are Conor McGregor cards, which is, again, insane. The only 3 in that are Masvidal Usman, Lesnar Carwin, and I believe Rousey and Nunes. Maybe. There's a Rousey card is in there. Anyway, mental. That just shows you really the effect he's had on that business. Anyway, we've kind of gone off on a tangent. Back to Ronda. She is obviously important. I think the sentiment from Charlotte maybe be saying, no, we don't need her, I think is maybe like a professional loyalty to those that do it day in, day out, perhaps. Do you think that's more to do with that than the star power itself?
Yeah, because they don't need Ronda Rousey to, perform well in the ring, because Charlotte Flair can have a good to great match with anybody in the business. Sasha Banks is growing and growing as a mainstream star. Bayley really just had the best year of her career, and she's still really young. And, Asuka is in the prime of her career. They got other ladies, trickle down there. But as far as positioning the women's division and where the women's division is positioned in the grand scheme of the WWE, it's never been higher than when Ronda Rousey was on top. That's when the WWE and Vince McMahon valued women's wrestling more than ever before. And I made the argument numerous times in 2019 that Ronda was the biggest star. 2018. Ronda was the biggest star because Roman was still dealing with the whole fan interaction and how they responded to him. Brock wasn't there all the time. So the fact that you had that big of a mainstream star in Ronda Rousey, and she's there almost every week, she's the top star. She's the top draw. And, this is very, very accurate after this past week. She gave Nia Jax two of her greatest matches ever. And I think that alone should make people value Ronda Rousey. The two greatest Nia Jax matches of all time.
Let me interject there. I spoke to Nia Jax. So I want to get your feelings on this. When was it? Maybe it was like middle of last year, something like that. And do you remember when they did when lockdown first started and there was like a big Zoom call and they with Paige, Nia, I can't even remember everyone that was on it. I think Mandy might have been there. There was like 5-6 of them. Zelina Vega, I think, was there too. And it was just like them chatting about stuff. And Nia Jax, very thinly veiled, essentially said that Nia Jax complained to WWE management that Rousey was too rough with Alexa Bliss, right? So obviously, when I interviewed her, I was like, "For real? Like, did you do that?" And was it like, were you talking about Ronda Rousey? And she was like, "Yes, I was." She confirmed it. I didn't follow up that question, but I just let it lie. I was like, "Okay." So Nia Jax, I'm just letting that breathe for everyone listening. Nia Jax complained to WWE management about Ronda Rousey. Now, it's worth noting that Alexa Bliss did get a concussion working with Rousey, but there's multiple reasons as to why that may have happened, and we all know the business, right? But isn't that something?
Like the audacity of Nia Jax. You're making me choke up here. Nia Jax that almost split poor Kairi Sane's head open, complained to management that Ronda Rousey was too rough with Alexa Bliss. Wow. I think that's like, that puts a bow on this whole conversation right there. I need
where do we go from there? Yeah, I hear you, man. Let's get to some ultra chats, since we've agreed that Ronda Rousey is indeed needed by WWE. TJ Adam, hey man, I'm sorry, I'm bringing up a sore subject. Using the full current Raw roster, book a 3-hour show. Come on, man. I've got work tomorrow. What do you want me to do? You can't use the same person twice. It can't be that hard, can it? Or are the writers failing the talent they have? SP3 for Causalmania, hashtag welcome back, Alex. Well, TJ, I appreciate very much the sentiment of your message. I cannot sit here and book a full 3-hour Raw. Can you do it without using people twice, though? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't see there's a reason why you need to have a match and then a gauntlet match, or a match and then a handicap match. So I don't, there's tons of people you could be doing more stuff with. Retribution, for one. Okay, I'm loving the angle of Ali, but you could have the other members doing things. Ricochet could have a 15-minute match on Raw, a full seg. Give that man 1-2 segs. We had Drew, we had Goldberg. We've got, Xavier Woods, of course, is in there. Like, when you look at the Raw roster, there's a lot going on. I can't sit here and say I would have done this or done that because I don't actually know who is and who isn't sick. Do you know what I mean? There could be people that have reasons why they're not on the show at the moment. So it's very hard. Like, why was Keith Lee not there this week? If the news got back to me that like just had nothing for Keith Lee this week, then I'd be like, what in God's green earth is wrong with you? Of course, there should be a segment or 2 or 3 for Keith Lee, especially when he's one of the top guys in the conversation for the Rumble. But he should, if he isn't, he should be, right? Yeah. So, you've got Andrade, who's kind of looking to make his return from eye surgery. He's another guy who should be focused. You've got Aleister Black, who's sitting on the sideline doing nothing on SmackDown, who I'm sure they could conjure up a story that worked him to Raw. There is there are a lot of different pieces to the puzzle on Raw, and there's a lot of different people that don't get used. But you have to remember, WWE is a very, very, very strange workplace. It's not like anything any of us work at. It's very, very strange. SP3, without getting you to book that, I'm going to assume you echo such sentiments.
Yeah, I was just going to do my best Vince McMahon impersonation, looking over what Alice just suggested. It's 7:45. Come up with something different. Yeah, so that's the issue. I'm pretty sure that everyone on the Raw creative team come up with a pretty good 3-hour shows sometimes at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And then this crazy man comes off a plane and it is just no, ripped it up, try something else, try something new. But like you said, there's numerous talent.
I would watch that shit, by the way.
3 1-hour Iron Man matches.
I'd watch it. I would.
I definitely would myself. But like you said, there's so much talent backstage that aren't being used. I know one that isn't sick that hasn't been used in weeks, Nikki Cross. And it's great that it's produced some really good promos on social media. But I'm sorry, that doesn't draw. They put one of those really good promos that she put on social media on the actual television show. You got through 2 or 3 minutes of your 3-hour show. It's like, come on, give us something. The Nikki Cross, Alexa Bliss storyline, there was so much meat left on that bone, and they just did one match and this was like, okay, move her on, put her in the Randy Orton feud now. Let's move through this. And it just seems that if you're not Drew McIntyre and you're not Randy Orton, you don't get booked consistently in prime positions. That's what it seems like on the Raw roster.
That's almost always been the way. It's almost always been the way, which is a major problem in itself. I will say, like this week, they were like Charlotte Flair, Shayna Baszler, first time ever. Now, listen, I have great interest in watching a match between them two, right? But I knew, even before what transpired, I was not going to get Charlotte Flair and Shayna Baszler. And that is inherently a problem with WWE. You don't ever get that in AEW. I hate to be that guy, kind of, but you don't, right? Same thing as they advertised Asuka and Shayna Baszler. You remember this last year?
Yep.
And everyone was like, wow, going to give that away on Raw? Because it's like, again, the history that's attached to that and what you could do with those two. Like, that could main event a Raw. That could be a huge pay-per-view match. Same with Shayna and Charlotte. These are first-time matches. There's a lot of pedigree. You could make the story work with NXT title run, all of that good stuff, right? Particularly Asuka Shayna, I feel this way about. Last year, and it was like somebody went, are you sure you want to give that away? And then like 2 days later, they were like, shit, yeah, actually, that's a pretty big match. Oh, Asuka has a wrist injury. Does she? Yeah. Is she out of the Elimination Chamber on Sunday? No. All right. So, okay, what's going on? Never mind. Like, they just don't actually realize what they can do and what they can build to with some of the talent they have. And the reason I honestly think that is because they think week to week. That is the issue. Like, they don't have it mapped out going like, unless, like you said, the top titles or whatever, they've got some storylines in place. Otherwise, people are just filling spaces and puzzles as they go. And I think, Vince, I think it's even been said itself, like Vince literally pivoted to Goldberg because he looked at who was going to be at the Rumble and he was like, I don't think anyone's ready, which I think is an insane thing to say when you book a show. Like, you are the person. Never mind. Let's move along. to the old stretch.
You're so right. Like you're hitting it right, the nail on the head. Because look at the person who was the perfect person to verse Drew at Royal Rumble before this whole Goldberg thing got out of hand. Who was the guy who versed him at TLC? Who was the guy that got screwed out of his one-on-one title match? And who was the guy who's been versing every jobber, janitor, and Ricochet on the roster ever since that match at TLC? AJ Styles. Like, AJ Styles booking since TLC to Royal Rumble is an indictment on the whole Raw creative team.
It's just the gatekeeper of the Rumble for some reason. Like, it's AJ Styles. There's a million things you can do. I just run it back. Like, if there's no big plans for AJ in the Rumble, like, I mean, I hope that there is some. I mean, he wants Triple H. We know that. I would like to see that. But there's no reason you couldn't put him in that spot. I even made the case yesterday to put Ricochet in the spot. You know, you could do the story from last year and how he helped him get Brock out, and you just know the match would be great. But I think Vince thinks, who do people want to tune in for? People want Goldberg. I don't know where he gets these wavelengths from. Certainly not from me. I would much prefer to watch Ricochet and Drew tear the house down for 15, 20 minutes than whatever the hell is going to transpire on Sunday. Bo Hill, hey man, how you doing? He says, who do you think should be the final four for both the men and the women's rumbles? Do you have a dark horse winner? I mean, I could make a dark horse winner for you. I don't think I have one. I said this the other day on my radio show. I feel like this is not the first ever, but this is one of the best years that I can remember, that the Rumble has so many multiple winners you could pick and they would all work.
Yeah.
There are like 4 or 5 people, men and women, that I look at the winner, I go, I'd like that. Normally it's like, I'll give you the example. When Rollins won to go on and face Lesnar, Rollins felt really hot coming into that. And I thought, probably Rollins. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, but this time I think, there's like a load of different directions they're going. It could be Big E. He could win it. A lot of people going, it's too soon. I don't think it is. I'd be behind it, right? Lesnar could come back and win it. That's a very conceivable thing. Daniel Bryan could win it. Okay. I'm thinking outlandishly here. Cesaro has been treated really well the past few weeks. Could win it, and people would get behind him. There are a lot of different, and the same for the women. I've been saying this for a while. Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, they should be your bread and butter. Those two have got to be in the conversation. Alexa Bliss, I know, is lurking around that scene at the moment. I don't think she needs it, but she's lurking around that scene. I said, Sonya Deville, use your position in the management to get into that Rumble, make a good run at it. There are so many things they can do. They will have to try really hard to mess it up, frankly. If I come away disappointed on Sunday, I'm going to think, how have they done that? Because there are so many great matches awaiting them. Belair, Banks, a lot of people, again, same little Big E, are going, maybe wait a year. Yeah, maybe. But I think Belair's looking great right now. Why not? Pull the trigger. Personally, I have a feeling Bayley will win it. I have a feeling Bayley will win it, and it will be her and Banks at Mania. I just feel that. I could be wrong. Hopefully, it's a launch pad for Belair, and there's a story in there with Bayley and Belair and Banks. But I feel like Bayley will. And for the men, I want Big E. My heart wants Big E like a lot. I want Apollo Crews to take the title from Big E. And obviously, there's the connection there where Roman has kind of been giving him some guidance under the learning tree. Big E then clashes heads with Roman, and that's how you get there. That's the story. So I want Big E. I would be happy with Daniel Bryan. It would cap off a wonderful career, and he would do the favors to Roman at Mania 2. I won't say anymore. SP3, what about you?
So, yeah, I mean, you're definitely right on one thing. This is the first Royal Rumble in years that multiple people work for either match. Like 2018, fans wanted Nakamura, but we thought Roman would win. 2019, it was all for like kind of Seth. 2020, it was either Drew or Roman. this year there's like 4 or 5 guys who could potentially win this one. I said it with Louis a couple of weeks ago that I'm with you. My heart is saying Big E, but my mind, my head is just saying Daniel Bryan.
But my body, my body.
I did not think
the way you said it.
Oh my god! But yes,
my mind's telling me Biggie,
but my body's telling me yes, yes, yes. Oh my god, that might have broke both of us. But yes, Daniel Bryan, because WWE loves doing moments 7 years later.
Oh, that's actually made me hot. Oh, Jesus.
And I think the wild card for the men's Royal Rumble is Edge. Because I think there's got to be a reason why they made this announcement ahead of time. Yes, it's to get eyes on the Royal Rumble, but it could also to give us something new. Randy doesn't have his things finished up with The Fiend, so he can definitely verse The Fiend at WrestleMania, and we can get Edge versus Drew at WrestleMania for the WWE title, with the story being that Edge never lost the title in the first place, and that's the lineage that title is now a part of.
Yeah, and exactly, you make a very good point, because that's what he said in his promo, coming back for what I never like. There was no mention of Randy Orton, and I think we all expected that to be the trilogy, and maybe they'll pick that up again at some point. But the idea of Edge and Drew having only just really dawned on me is very exciting. Do you know what I saw as well the other day, that people think that Goldberg and Cena might be the direction at Mania. So full transparency, this is going to shock everyone. The first premise of Goldberg and Undertaker, I was like, yeah, okay. Like, I was kind of intrigued. Like, what are they going to do? Obviously, Undertaker's so well protected and Goldberg so limited. I was like, well, what are they going to do? We know how that turned out. But so I have the same worries for Cena. But at the same time, it is kind of intriguing. But I do think Cena would just do the job for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think the build-up would be interesting, because Cena, if he has time...
Cena would ice him on the microphone.
Cena, if he has time, especially like the last 4 or 5 years, Cena's just been on the money when it comes to promos. And I think that him, the hardest working guy in WWE history, versus the not so hardest working guy.
Imagine the marketing
in the history of professional wrestling. Like, that just writes itself with awesome Cena promos up and down up until WrestleMania. For the Women's Royal Rumble, I'm gonna stay pat. I've been saying my mind and my body and my heart have all been saying Bianca Belair. So I think it is her time. I watched the Chronicles. That was great, and kind of telling a little bit more about herself, adding layers to, the character that really hasn't been fleshed out on the main roster. But I think that, putting that together right at the 1 week mark ahead of the Royal Rumble, there's a reason for it. Lana got her big win at Survivor Series 1 week after her Chronicles came out, and I think Bianca Belair is the next up.
Jesus Christ, by the way, crime in your area is high.
Yeah.
That's all I can hear. I hope you and the girls you and the kids are safe.
We're safe.
Sorry.
We are safe.
Your Instagram, by the way, is a litany of cuteness. Incredible. If I'm a man, I know I'm aging when I'm like, that kid's cute. I'm going to give you, though, a virtual high five right now, SP3. Can this, it has to, which way does it go? That way. Go on. Can you do that? Bang! No, yeah. Bang!
There you go.
There it is. Because we are on the same team. Big E and Bianca Belair. That is the Wednesday night Wrestling Dailies picks. I totally agree. Let's move along to Matty. Hey, Alex and SP3. Hope you enjoy the show. I'm at my grand's. She's in my bubble. Good on you, my sir. So I'll catch it later. I wanted to ask if you'd seen the WrestleVotes tweet about plans for the Rumble. I'm genuinely scared. Yes, I have seen the tweet, and I'm going to have to get it up to recite it word for word. But essentially, he's saying that they are considering something that's essentially like terrifying. aren't they? And so here it is. Sorry for the lack of detail, but still noteworthy in my opinion. Had a brief conversation earlier with a source regarding the men's Royal Rumble match. He said, quote, "There's a finish that scares the death out of me, and it's legitimately getting heavy consideration." Yikes. Man, that's vague. I don't think you can quantify that as a report as such, as hyperbole. But yeah, Goldberg loses to Drew, comes out, wins, faces Roman. Something terrible.
Yeah, I mean the ones that could be described as terrible, either or. Women's is Charlotte Flair winning back to back. That just would not get a good reaction on social media. And even though I'm the president of our fan club, I think Ronda Rousey coming in at number 30 and winning the Royal Rumble would be huge for WWE financially and ratings wise, but the fans and the fan reaction, they're gonna tear that apart. And they're gonna be like, she just comes back to get a spot at to get a main event spot at WrestleMania. But so I can see that Goldberg winning the Royal Rumble or Brock Lesnar winning the Royal Rumble is probably the ones that would get that reaction for the men's side.
Yeah. Nuclear heat on display there. WrestleScope. You guys know that anything planned for Rumble right now will be completely changed after WWE Backstage on Saturday. Vince will wait for reactions and change it all. I mean, Vince changes everything anyway, so you're probably right. We know that they are announcing, I believe, the 30th for the men and 1 and 2 for the women. So we're going to get a picture of what WWE are planning. But I do believe that Vince probably knows who's winning both now. I don't think he probably knew a month ago. So it tells you, I don't know what WWE are really thinking, but does anyone? Do they? I don't know. TJ Adam is back again. He says, thanks for the rip up SP3. I thought he said RIP for a second. How does this sound? Jey Uso takes the IC title off Apollo to get favor with Roman. Big E challenges at Fastlane. Jimmy returns to help Roman at the Rumble versus Kevin Owens. Thoughts? Jimmy is, he'll be in the picture sooner or later. He's meant to be returning. Jay told me that around the summer last year. Jay told me that Jimmy was due back about January, the first quarter. So I can't wait for that. Like the full ensemble of the Bloodline. I'm down. I mean, you want Jey Uso to take off the IC title off Apollo? I'm assuming you mean Big E. I don't know. Or do you mean Apollo wins it, then Jey takes it off him? Big E challenges at Fastlane? I don't know. Either way, we said earlier, didn't we, SP3? We would like, or I could see it, that they've planted the seeds with Apollo being under Roman's wing, right? Getting some counseling and Heyman's advice. I could see that being how he overcomes Big E and then Big E locking eyes on the Bloodline.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I want Big E to win the Royal Rumble. So if that's the way to get there, I'm all for it. But I've been liking what they've been getting out of Apollo Crews over the last couple of weeks, whether it be on Talking Smack or more Talking Smack than SmackDown, because other than the segment backstage with Roman and Apollo, they haven't really followed up on it like I think they could have. But the promo segment with the debate between Big E and Apollo Crews on Talking Smack this week, with Heyman kind of getting into Apollo's head with the
masterfully needled, didn't he?
With the perfect smirk at the end. I was just like, this is getting somewhere. I'm more interested in this Intercontinental title feud than I was since like the ladder match at Clash of Champions, and that was a while ago now.
Wow, yeah, that's a very good point. Wow, what a match that was, though.
Yeah.
We've got a couple more here. Chris Petru, just wanted to say hello to my boys, Alex and SP3. We got you, Chris, over here. It's always a wonderful time to listen and engage with you both. Wrestling Daily is always an awesome show. Hashtag SP3 for Quizzlemania. Hashtag Wrestling Daily for life. For life, apparently. Yeah, well, you'll be delighted to know then that we're moving to our own channel. Isn't that a great thing? We've got our own home. Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate that, brother. Mark Mallow. almost one word. As stopped by and said, I've been a wrestling fan for about 40 years. I simply cannot afford more for a donation right now, though. Sorry. I mean, Mark, yeah. What do you mean? What do you mean you're sorry? We're grateful for anything, my friend.
Exactly.
Your support is always appreciated here on Wrestling Daily. I'm going to finish the stream at 5 past. If anyone has any questions, specifically for SP3, because he's the co-host of the night, but I'll open it up to both. Get them in now. You don't have to pay. Just get them into the live chat. I will get them on to SP3 and we will start talking some wrestling. But before we do that, both world champions to retain on Sunday, SP3?
Oh man. So I think the folks watching probably know this already, but you haven't, because this is our first time together. Hey, what's going on,
Mark? Welcome your first time, brother.
Welcome. So this is his first time finding out this as well. This Sunday at the Royal Rumble, Bill Goldberg will defeat Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship to set up Drew versus Goldberg 2 at WrestleMania 37, because this man wants Drew McIntyre winning the WWE Championship in front of actual fans. That is why. You come on. And for anyone who's disagreeing with me, you know it's true. You just don't want to say it. I have the guts to say it. And my good Twitter friend Adam Blampier, if you watched the predictions today, he agreed with me. He also predicted the same thing. We're here. We understand. You fooled me once. Okay. You fooled me twice. I should have been smarter that second time. You're not going to fool me 3 times. Kevin Owens, The Fiend, the streak continues on Sunday. Drew McIntyre, 3-0 for Bill Goldberg, getting shots at the heavyweight championship.
Are you done?
I only kept going because
do you know what's scary is I said this with Louis yesterday. I am terrified because I knew he was going to beat Kevin Owens. Okay, we all knew that was going to happen.
Yeah,
we knew where that was going. I honestly, and I like to think of myself as a perceptive, relatively smart wrestling fan, thought, no way will they beat The Fiend. No way would they be that stupid. He's the hottest character they've had in forever. No way is Goldberg going to rock up and beat him in like 2 minutes because he can't do anything else. That's what happened. I DM'd Drew the other day. We were actually talking about UFC. And then I just said, by the way, I don't want to have to block you if you lose to Goldberg. Put your foot down, Drew. I don't want to have to see this. He says he won't, but who knows? He's kayfabing me. He does that. That's the reason I hate what you just said so much is because I know it might happen, and I'm very, very worried about it. Anyway, there's a ton of people who have got some questions in here. I want to go back to Uptown Avondale. He had one, but people are relishing my loss of anything. SP3, how good was Brody Jr. on commentary? That clip is so good.
This kid just gets professional wrestling. He gets professional wrestling more than people that are on WWE, AEW, New Japan. Like, when it comes to him talking on the mic, whether he's on commentary, whatever he does, he just nails it. And this was another example. He made it, and the commentary is like the number one thing to watch on AEW Dynamite, AEW Dark for, because Taz and Excalibur have made a great team. But adding Brody Lee, that was the cherry on top. This was great.
Shut up, Excalibur! Taz losing his mind to what Brody Jr. was doing was just so good. I'm gonna roll this to 10 past, by the way, because we took so long on Goldberg. Faithful Abar, is Roman Reigns the biggest star in professional wrestling? Yeah, I think so right now.
Yeah, he's number one. Kenny Omega's nipping at his heels, but Roman Reigns is number one right now.
I think that'd be more of a discussion if Kenny was like, not in WWE because that wouldn't make sense. But do you know what I mean? Like the platform, I think plays into how big a star you are because of how many people see you and stuff. So it's not like saying, I'm not sitting there saying Roman is better than Kenny. That's a whole different thing.
Mm-hmm.
But is he the biggest star right now? Yeah. I think he is, to be honest. Let's see what else we got going on here. Here we go. SP3, what's your favorite indie wrestling organization? Now, that's a good question to a man that has seen every wrestling match ever transpired. So, SP3, talk to us.
My two favorites right now, well, three favorites actually.
Of course there is.
Warrior Wrestling out of Chicago. They're like 2002 2000 through 2004 Ring of Honor, where like the best independent wrestlers, the best wrestlers all around go through there. Freelance Wrestling in Chicago, which is like the hub that kind of have created some of the top young stars when it comes to like Ethan Page, Kylie Ray, Elena Black, who just got signed by NXT, came from there. And Mission Pro Wrestling, as I said on our year-end awards, one of the main reasons why Thunder Rosa was your 2020 Women's Wrestler of the Year, because she is sowing the seeds for the future of women's professional wrestling with Mission Pro Wrestling. All women throughout the entire card, ring announcers, everything she's doing, and she's kind of like raising the profile of all these indie gals, from Lacey Ryan, who just got signed by NXT, to girls on AEW Dark like Vert Vixen and Maddie Renkowski. So Mission Pro Wrestling, you guys should definitely check it out. February 6th, their next show on Title Match Network.
And it's very commendable what Thunder Rosa is doing, but I won't let you goad me into that conversation again. I won't, because I will go. Bacon Rasher says, Ali wins the Rumble with Retribution help. Thoughts, SP3 and Alex too. All right, thank you. Hashtag good eggs. Man, I want nothing but great things to happen for Ali, but I think he's destined for a date with Kofi at WrestleMania in the singles, and I am here for that, because I do think that is just, it's just awesome the way that story is playing out. If he was to win the Rumble, I wouldn't hate it. And it would be kind of nicely poetic because of the 35 year and all that stuff, but I don't really see it. I am part though for Ali Kofi. What about you, Chewie?
He's been cutting great promos on Kofi as of late, but I don't see him winning the Royal Rumble. I think in a perfect world, if you were going to put the Raw tag team titles on the Hurt Business just for them to be another fighting tag team partners, they had no business even taking the titles off of the New Day. The story should have been New Day versus Retribution for WrestleMania for the Raw tag team titles, and that's the big win for Retribution.
I like this one. Chris Petru, SP3, did you enjoy Ronda in the Entourage film? Let me stipulate before I let him answer. I am a huge Entourage fan. That show is like the go for like 30 minutes of just rich goodness. Vinny Chase slinging it around. It is fantastic. Ronda Rousey, I can't repeat the line because Jenna will kill me for swearing again. But what she says to Turtle is great in the film.
She was awesome. I think that was her best acting role because she got to play herself and she was very natural in the role. I love the Entourage movie. I'm actually going back now and watching Entourage from season 1 because I just want to get everything down. I'm going to give you a question before we get to the next one. Who's your favorite Entourage character?
Oh, come on.
Yeah, put you on the spot.
It's probably Johnny Drama, but yeah, probably. I mean, I love Vinny too, though, because who can't love Vinny until like cocaine takes him over and he's getting beaten up by Eminem. But yeah, Johnny's funny, isn't he?
I was gonna say that was gonna be mine if you went for the I think the obvious answer would always be Ari Gold because he's just masterful.
He's so good.
He's so good. Johnny Drama is fantastic, but I'm gonna go with Billy because season 4 of Entourage is probably my favorite. Because Billy just goes off the deep end with the Medellin film.
Yeah, people won't, unless you know that he's basically a director, producer.
Director.
Mental. And then he goes clean for a while and he goes mental again. It's great. It's so good. I might rewatch that shit for real. Alex, who would you love to see Walter beat Walter for the title? SP3, I'll open up to you as well. Wow. I mean, there's an influx of talent in NXT UK right now with like Rampage, Shah Samuels. I know Adam Maxted is coming over, who is like 6'3", chiseled out of stone, legit. Ben Carr, you could tell the Tyler Bate story again, and it's very hard. I don't really see anyone beating him. I think it might be one of those like Oscar.
I think Dragunov is the guy. Dragunov,
he is the guy.
He's the guy. He's young enough. He had that classic with him last year, and I think that type of matchup will get attention for their rematch, where they can make it bigger and make it feel as big as that match felt, and then him winning would probably put it on the same level as that 5-star matchup. So I think Ilya Dragunov is the guy that's going to beat Walter.
Yeah, if you're going to do it. If that's the way you beat Walter, then yes, that's how you do it. Pierre says, what way would make a Money in the Bank relevant again? I'd say give it to Mustafa Ali or Sami Zayn. They would be two very good people to hold it, especially Ali holding that kind of power after having the power taken away from him. That would make sense. The Money in the Bank is easy to make relevant. It's one of the easiest gimmicks WWE have got that they managed to fumble. This past year was, I can't believe they didn't do another women's Money in the Bank on free TV after it turned out that one wasn't actually really the Money in the Bank at all. It was a title match. So in theory, we never had the excitement of a female Money in the Bank contract this year. Otis, yeah, it was a shock on the night, but past that, what did it do? Nothing. I think it's been fumbled terribly. Like there is a lot of up and coming guys they could have given it to use it as a launch pad. And yeah, Sami Zayn is a great example of that. Again, he's always against moral injustice. He could kind of be like, well, now I hold the power, and that's the power of the briefcase needs to be. I don't know who the last great Money in the Bank holder was. Like Rollins was a really good one. Like his stock kept going up with the briefcase, and it culminated in that magical moment. That's the goal.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right that Rollins was the last one that felt like he was building momentum throughout that whole thing. Even if he took a loss, it was in a big time position like the Royal Rumble 2015. What way can they make Money in the Bank relevant? Don't do any of the things you've done the last 3 years. That'd be the easiest answer to this question, because even with the women's Money in the Bank, we've had 3-4 years since the first one. We've only gotten one real Money in the Bank holder since then, and that was Carmella. Every other winner either won the title the next night, like Asuka, or they won it that same night, Alexa Bliss and Bayley. So we haven't even gotten a real female Money in the Bank holder since Carmella, and we all know how they botched that with the first one. So the women's Money in the Bank is in rougher shape than the men's Money in the Bank, but people don't even realize that. So yeah, there's numerous ways, but one way, just don't do the things you've done the last 3 years.
Yeah, don't overthink it and try and make it like shocking and surprising. And come on, there's just go back to what it meant. It's the same thing with King of the Ring. Like that could be something. It used to be great, but yeah, there you have it. Anyway, I feel like this is worth mentioning before we sign off here. Although I do have an ultra chat I need to get to before the end. But there you go. SP3 is a legend. Well, Booty 2K. I mean.
You are too. There
you go. Just thought I'd state the obvious. You're okay too, Alex. I mean, I'll take okay next to the legend, I guess. I'll take it. From Booty 2K, like my mind is like, what does that even entail? Like, what does that even look like? A 2,000 ask. Like, wow. Okay, let's get to the last ultra chat from Mark Board. If Naomi is medically cleared, would love to see heel Naomi join the bloodline on SD and come after Sasha. Oh, man. Yeah, I want that. To take the title off Sasha so a Rumble winning Bianca could take it off her at Mania, and Sasha versus Bayley concludes without a belt at Mania with fans. You know what? I liked all of that. I didn't know. If that played out, I'd be down. Listen, Naomi sans hashtag, you could do a lot more with Naomi. There's a lot to be done with her and her athleticism, her appeal. There's no one quite like her in WWE. Like, I think in terms of athleticism and like innovative moves in that realm, her and Casey Catanzaro, and I'd say Catanzaro is probably another level from there. They're the only two, really. I can't think of anyone else that can do what they do. So you should do something with that. And yeah, I'd like to see her in the bloodline. Obviously, real life makes sense. Sasha and Bayley doesn't actually need a title. You're right. It really doesn't. But I'd be down, SP3.
I'm definitely down for that. I am one of the people that definitely feels like I favor Naomi as a babyface than as a heel, but putting her in the bloodline, I think, is the only way that they can make it work. And she just, I know it was a hashtag, and I know it's probably corny to say now, but yeah, she does deserve better. Like, every time she comes out, she looks like a star. Like, she has a star type of entrance. The buzz that she created with her return last year should not be just, scuffed over, because she's very talented. She can get mainstream type of buzz, and that's very rare in the WWE nowadays. Like we said, it hasn't been in that same position since Ronda Rousey. And I think Naomi, along with Sasha Banks, of course, Charlotte Flair, Bayley, these are the ladies that they need to kind of get that buzz behind, but they just don't focus on it 100% of the time. And Naomi is the worst case of that.
I've spoken to Naomi a few times, and she is one of the most likable people you could ever imagine. Like, she's super nice, like a full baby face in my eyes. Like, because she exudes it on camera as well. Another thing on that, Naomi, Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks, to a degree Charlotte Flair, because the pageantry is based on her father. All of them look amazing, like stars.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, but Belair even more impressively so, because she actually does her own stuff. But I think the way they look is so important, and they look amazing all the time. I could keep going, but we better not. We've gone like 20 minutes over. I really enjoyed this stream, guys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is one of the best wrestling dailies ever, in my opinion. I've had a ton of fun. SP3, man, thank you so much for joining me. Tell the fine viewers here, they don't just have to wait for you here on Wednesdays. You always are here on Wednesdays, but man, they can catch you somewhere else. Tell us where.
Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at True Hill Heat. Oh, it's over here, at True Hill Heat. You can also go over to the YouTube channel and subscribe over there. Watch a couple of videos. We got daily content, TV show reviews, as well as podcasts similar to this one. But I will say, I have too much fun with Alex. I'm so glad that he is back, and this will forever be known as my mind is telling me Big E, and my body is telling me yes. That is the name.
I'm gonna clip it up. I'm gonna put that on Twitter. So organic, incredible stuff. This is the A Show, SP3. Listen, you've had your substitutes in January. The A Show is back. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Tomorrow is Steph Chase, fresh off the Wednesday Night Wars. You know she brings the heat, and those hot takes are incoming. So join us again, 8 p.m. tomorrow. You can catch SP3 once again next Wednesday. And until then, we will bid you adieu. See you later. Enjoy the Rumble, and we will talk about it next week. Bye-bye.